I was at the university till they found out I was there and booted me out, of course. I did a unit called psychology, and in that unit was a definition of, I would use the term madness, but other people would use the word psychosis. And the definition was a person that had no feelings for his fellow human beings. Now, this gentleman that stood up before in this place, Mr. Acting Speaker, he was really concerned about flying foxes. We were left with a distinct impression that he was really concerned about flying foxes. Well, you know, I quote, a resident of his electorate. A resident of his electorate was attacked by 2 flying foxes. She was torn and shredded. Both her arms and parts of her body were torn and shredded. She couldn't escape from them. They just kept coming at her. In Hendra is a suburb of Brisbane, not far away from where this woman was attacked. And there is a virus which is called Hendra virus, because that's where it was found. 4 of the 6 people that have contracted Hendra virus died. It has a death rate of 60%. Now, this woman said, you know, if I'd been attacked by a human being, the human being would have been put in jail for 7 years. That's the normal incarceration rate when you physically attack someone seriously and violently like that. But because it's a flying fox, nothing is done to it at all. There is nothing at all that is done to it. Now, Mr. Acting Speaker, I'm a person that takes a great and keen interest in nature. I love nature. I live on our little paradise of 10 acres where we have nearly 1,000 native trees now surrounding us and some 32 species of birds that we can see almost every week from the back landing of our house. But if you know nature and you understand nature, then there is a balance. That balance has been there for 40,000 years since human beings first came to this continent. And that balance meant that the numbers of flying foxes was very, very restrained. They had very limited food source because the vegetation is not very great in North Queensland. Contrary to public opinion, they don't actually live in the rainforest very much at all. They live outside of the rainforest. There are some species, very small, minor numbers, that do. But of course they provided food for the first Australians. Mr. Acting Speaker, for those in this place who seem to be fairly ignorant of every aspect of nature and various other things as well, like the economy, but for those of us that do take an interest in these things, you would know that a boomerang is a weapon uniquely used to attack flying foxes. It's not a weapon that'll pick up a bird that flies very swiftly, but it'll pick up a flying fox that flies very slowly. And it can pick it up in the trees, throw 2 or 3 of them into a tree full of flying foxes. You'll pick up 1 or 2, that's for certain, Mr. Acting Speaker. So there was no doubt that a small but significant proportion of the diet of the people that lived here for 40,000 years, people that mostly live here now have only been here for 150 years. Almost the entire population came out in the gold rushes, Mr. Acting Speaker. So there was no one really living here until 150 years ago, European. Mr. Acting Speaker, that a person could stand up in this place and advocate the protection of flying foxes. I mean, are these people not aware of the 60 Minutes program where that little boy died in the most agonising pain conceivable by human beings? For those, and there would be many of us that read and love the Wilbur Smith novels, his first novel concentrated, the main event was the death of the hero's best friend by rabies. And lyssavirus is just a form of rabies, Mr. Acting Speaker. It's the worst possible way to die. He, in fact, shot his friend rather than see him die the way that he was dying. And this little boy died, and it was filmed on 60 Minutes. And yet there hasn't been one speech in this place saying, get out there with a shotgun and get rid of the damn things. They are a filthy menace. They have a DNA very similar to human beings, and that means that they carry the diseases that will attack human beings. And let me name them, Mr. Acting Speaker. Lissa virus, for which no one has survived in Australia, and that little boy died from it, off the member for Dawson's area, and I'm sure he'll feel passionately about it as I do. Hendra virus, which has killed 4 or 6 people that have contracted it. And let me take you to the coalface, Mr. Acting Speaker, and let me rub the faces of some of the stupid people that are elected to represent the people of Australia in this place. Let me rub their faces in the gutter of their own creation, Mr. Acting Speaker. And I speak with passion because I feel passionate about it, Mr. Acting Speaker. In this case where 2 horses contracted the disease, I rode one of those horses. I ride it annually in the Ingham procession, the Italian-Australian festival. I ride the front of the procession, one of those beautiful horses. And I won't name the family because they've already been to hell and back. Mr. Acting Speaker, when they walked down the street, everyone left the street. They would not be served in shops. It was just like they had got leprosy. And everyone knew them. They were a very prominent family. So for 2-3 months of their lives, and for very long time afterwards, people would not associate or have anything to do with them whatsoever. There was a huge bat colony on the edge of their property, outside of Ingham, and they weren't allowed to remove them or even move them on, Mr. Acting Speaker. And when we attempted to move them on, the Department of the Environment, who are a bunch of people that blood suck off the people of Australia. They produce nothing. They do not even produce any flow of information that would be of use to anyone, Mr. Acting Speaker. They're absorbing thousands of millions of dollars of government money and delivering back to us absolutely nothing, Mr. Acting Speaker. And I speak with a great sensitivity on the issue because I represent the jungles of Australia. Most all of Australia's jungles are in the Kennedy electorate. A little tiny bit in the member for Dawson. He's suffering an inferiority complex here, Mr. Acting Speaker. A little bit in New South Wales, where they have very, very prominent cultivation there that they make a lot of money out of, at Nimbin and those places. But I represent the vast bulk of Australia. And I also represent, along with the member of Dawson, almost all of the populated area of the Great Barrier Reef, Mr. Acting Speaker. We deserve and should get a flow of information. Now, I'll tell you the sort of information we get. The great authorities at the university in Townsville on the dugong told us that the dugong were vanishing. They were an endangered species, and they quoted the figures of where the dugong numbers had dropped clean in half. Now, there was a report, Mr. Acting Speaker, in this case was done by the Institute of Marine Science. There is a body that does earn its money, that gives us a flow of information, that has an understanding of the real world in which we live, Mr. Acting Speaker. And they said, the report said, yes, the numbers had dropped clean in half in the bottom half of the Barrier Reef, and they doubled in the northern half of the Barrier Reef. Mr. Acting Speaker, we simply want to get rid of them. We don't want to study them, and we don't want to spend a fortune studying them. We want to get rid of them. And it is very simple. You put a very loud noise under all the trees and they go away, Mr. Acting Speaker.
Order.
I would prefer to
Order.
get them to catch lead poisoning.
The member's time has
anyway.
expired. It was a mesmerising speech, I must say, and I could listen for some time longer, but unfortunately it's